I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Jeff here.
Bergman, here. Then.
Here.
Lance. Here. Peterson. Bishop. Here.
Call to order at 7 p.m. No. Please leave the binder on the counter. Oh, I'm sorry.
Moving on.
Just a little tired, I get. Sorry. The Nebraska Open Meeting Act is how we conduct business, and it is posted on the south wall for your reading and enjoyment. The mayor and the city council reserve the right to enter into closed session at any time during the meeting in accordance with the Open Meeting Act, even though closed session may not be indicated on the agenda. It is the intention of the mayor and the council to take up items on the agenda as they are presented. However, we may choose to do otherwise. Anyone wishing to speak during public comment may do so, but you may be limited to 3 minutes and with 2 individuals per topic. All right, review and action of the agenda.
I would like to move that we take action number A with West Central Nebraska Development to move it to under unfinished business before number A. So that they are not here. Like, longer than they need to be here. Otherwise, I would move to accept the rest of the agenda.
All right.
So it's
Yeah, I think you seconded it.
Yes.
So Andrea moved, Kimberly second, that we
first day.
amend the agenda, new business A to
The first
for
day.
unfinished business A.
I didn't realize there was two.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. Any discussion? Sam, how do you vote?
Yes.
Tierney, Andrea,
Yes.
and Kimberly, motion carried. Oh dear. Review and action of prior meeting minutes, March 2nd, 2024. Thank you for providing this so nicely to us, Edward.
There was a period there.
So I say someone moves to take.
Sorry, yep, yes. I will make a motion to table the review and action of prior meeting minutes for March 4th, 2024 until the next meeting.
Kimberly, thank you. Kimberly moves, Sam seconds, that we table the prior meeting minutes from March 2nd to our next meeting, which is April 9th. All right, any discussion? Andrea, how do you vote?
Yes.
Sam?
Yes.
Kimberly? Motion carried. Thank you. All right, communications, sorry.
Okay, we'll start with some meetings here. This is not really a meeting, but I'm gonna conduct, I'll just conduct training here. I'm gonna conduct the time clock training with the library staff tomorrow. Robin emailed me here just a minute ago to set up a time, so I'll be training them tomorrow on the use of that. And then still waiting on Dan Thompson, the library board president, to get back to me on the training on his side of the house, for his supervisor duties. Then ball forms are gonna be due April 2nd. Ball forms received after April 2nd, we will receive the late penalty charge. And then on April 3rd, I will conduct the time clock training for the other side of our side of the house of public works employees. Jesse and I have already been playing with it, and need to do any more training with her. And then the Park and Rec Board will meet that evening on Wednesday, April 3rd at 6:15. We will be considering for approval, all of this year's license and management agreements. So the swim team, Oakley traveling baseball team, flag football, and soccer. And that will take us to cemetery on Tuesday, April 9th at 5:15 p.m. and then our next city council meeting at 7. The guys have been working on a lot of parks and rec projects up until this last kind of crazy snowy cold weather snap that hit. So if you haven't been down there, I think I mentioned this, but the new scoreboards are up. The dugouts in the south field are now filled in, and they're getting prepped for the new above ground dugouts that will be in place. Pitching warm-ups the cages will be installed by Coop vinyl fence. The shade structures we ordered from Versatube. Those should be here shortly. That last message I got from them that they were in production. So we were anxiously awaiting those. So a lot of little things going on down there. We will be providing, I don't know how many of you are familiar, but if on the east side of the entrance, like you're walking into the concession, there's about 3 to 4 foot high cutoff REA poles to sort of stop traffic from coming in there with one access point. We will be doing the same thing on the west side, down by the bathrooms, to control traffic with the new playground being installed. Date for that is still after school's out. We haven't had our site visit yet, but I anticipate that here sometime in the next month or so. So yeah, fast and furious on park projects. We had to postpone weather came in, so Mr. Forney postponed the park cleanup. We don't have a date set yet, but we'll get it set. So get everyone involved in that. Easter is this Sunday. It's way early this year, so I don't
Do
know.
we have a handicap designated park? The ball fields.
I think, is there a sign on one of those posts, I think?
It's the entrance is the handicap.
Okay, is it marked though?
No, we cannot mark it.
ADA
We
compliant.
cannot mark it because otherwise we'd have to pave it and make it ADA compliant. So I think that the language we came up with on the Park and Rec Board meeting was senior citizen accessible or something like
Senior
that.
parking.
Senior parking. It was from the E-Free Church. I think Jared Fuller provided me with the language that they used. So, yeah, unless we wanted to consider.
Well, just with doing the other side, because generally that's where they would go then if they were going to.
Yeah, we'll still have an opening down there big enough to fit ambulance and handicapable vehicles. We're just trying to prevent
Right.
regular through traffic. So, and those same signage will be down there on that end as well.
So, and the cost, remind me, the cost of the bathrooms to put in that bathroom.
So the latest cost I got was $176 and some change. And that'll be on this year's, when we do budget, it'll be on this year's.
Could you please, on the next agenda, I would like to revisit the amount of money that we're putting into the ballpark and the ball field and it not be in our property.
Sure.
I think there's some concerns there.
I have some concerns. I think, yes, I agree with you, Lisa. I mean, I totally want to do stuff out there. I think it needs to be done, but when it's not ours, and they could change it whenever they please, not that they will, but it's hard to put that.
I just want to resolve those concerns where we can all talk about it. So put that on the agenda.
Yep. And So that's sort of what I was pulling out. The mayor and council president were able to attend the NNPP annual conference with me. There was a couple of really good segments that we all attended. There was no breakout sessions. It was everybody all in one, which I kind of like. I mean, you don't have to pick and choose which ones you go to then. So IIJA funding was presented by Olson. That's Infrastructure and Investment Jobs Act. It's actually got 2 or 3 different names, the Biden Infrastructure Act, and so on and so forth, Inflation Reduction Act. Their main thing was how do we leverage our dollars with state and federal resources, coming up with the prioritization schedule for your capital improvements, and then establishing a relationship with your legislators and federally elected officials. Really, the only community in the state of Nebraska that receives federal dollars is Omaha because of their size. So, I mean, it's really almost non-existent for smaller cities to receive federal money on a grant scale. They did have a good panel with some grant writing resources. Jason Fontaine from Toth and Associates, Jeff Cook-Coyle from Premier Energy, and the amazing Al Viconti from the Viconti Municipal Consulting Services. They each presented a little bit of what they can do. I think the best session of the whole thing was it was called, is it the Jetsons or Gen Z? Presented by the Tennessee Valley Public Power Association. Their executive director came out and gave a very good speech on the next generation of workforce. I thought there were some interesting stats. The greatest generation, that's before 1928, is 0.2 of the workforce. The silent generation, that's 1928 to 1945, is 5.49, or less than 1% of the workforce. The baby boomers is 1946 to 1964, 20%, 19% of the workforce. Generation X, 1965 to 1980, was 36% of the workforce. Millennial, 1981 to 1996, is 39% of the workforce. During that generation was the first sort of caveat or sub generation out of that. They're called the geriatric millennials, which is 1980 to 1985. That's me. So I'm geriatric apparently. And then Generation Z, 1997 to 2012, and that's about 6% of the workforce. Generation Alpha is the newest one. That is the 2013 to current, and obviously they're not in the workforce yet. And there's also, but they will be. I took way more notes than probably you want to go over. If you want to see them, I can share them with you. There were some neat things on Gen Z workplace terminology, quiet quitting, career cushioning, loud quitting. Bare minimum Mondays is a concept that sees workers take it easy at the start of the week. They'll go about their usual tasks as normal, but will not especially work hard. After all, they need time to ease into the work week. Act your wage is simply what it states, is you're not doing anything more than what you're paid to do. Chaotic working, boomerang employees, lazy girl jobs, that's their definition, not mine, but it's low stress jobs that pay well. And then holacracy, which is a non-hierarchical approach to our organizational management. And I got some graphs here. It was very good. I was thoroughly impressed with that. 2 more here really quick. Tom Gillette, what's in your community drinking water? He talked a lot about the lead and copper survey that's coming up in October. PFAS, we've tested twice for PFAS and it's not in our system currently. So we're not on that list, thankfully. There are 191,000 wells in Nebraska. Only 351 of them are public water supply wells. I thought that number would have been way higher. And spend quite a bit of time on the lead service line inventory, which thankfully we just need to transpose to their preferred worksheet. But because of the water meters we put in 2016, we can show the city side coming into the meter and the residential side going out. So hopefully that'll suffice for them. And then Scott Corwin, the APPA president, American Public Power Association president, he talked a lot about microgrids, the supply chain issue, grid security, and then just the things that they can do as NMPP is a member of APPA, permitting and reform, greenhouse gas regulations, financing, infrastructure investment, grid security. And he emphasized different administration, different regulations. He said this is going to change in 2 years and it's going to change drastically. So they also have New Public Power 101 on-demand training on their website. So just some highlights there from our time at the NMPP annual conference. Capping it off on Thursday night, we were one of 4 recipients who did receive NMPP Project of the Year. And it is on the wall over there. So I was very excited and surprised. They kept it secret. So I'm excited that we were able to receive that award and the mayor and council president were there with me. So yeah, good time.
Thank you very much. Very good. Standing committee reports, Andrea.
And no, I missed mine. Actually, missed all 3 of them.
Kimberly.
No.
Bryn and Sam.
Okay, so Lisa and I were both at the library board for as long as we could be. Not a whole, I mean, nothing much got done. We both had to leave at 6, so we were unable to attend the meeting. Hopefully when the minutes come out, I'll be able to see what happened.
We mean they got one item done in an hour.
Well, 1 item in an hour, yeah, sorry. Let's see, library board. Tree board. Jesse, did you have anything on that? I wasn't able to
Yeah.
attend tree board.
We talked about the park cleanup that got postponed. We they're working towards our Arbor Day project. And are hoping to have it potentially April 24th, like that's not confirmed yet. And that was the only 2 things.
Yep.
wasn't there?
So there's about 33 kids in this year's 4th grade class, and we're very thankful that Pinnacle Bank has offered to be a sponsor this year again for those T-shirts that those 4th graders received, and we are looking for an additional 1 or 2 sponsors if we can to cover the rest of that cost. So if you know someone, send them our way. I think Sherry Friedel had put it out to the Chamber of Commerce and they sent it to the local businesses. So hopefully we can get 1 more to finance those. If not, we do have it budgeted for, but it would be nice to have it
They had a good response.
covered. Yes, yeah, really good response, actually, probably too many. It gets kind of muddled when you get a lot of
That's awesome.
sponsors. It is very awesome, so. And then, yeah, we're working on Arbor Day activities. Chrissy Land, our forester, has confirmed she will be here. So she'll be here from 11 till 2. We don't know the exact dates of the meeting. She wants to do some walking around the park and around town or around some areas that Mr. Forney has identified. And John and Doug, I'm not sure if Sherry went, but I know John and Doug went to the Sutherland tree workshop where they were also scraping bark looking for emerald ash borer. So no signs in Sutherland yet, but they were definitely looking for it. So.
All right, very good. Enforcement, sheriff and water reports.
Oh, I apologize, Lisa. The CRA, the planning commission met on the 27th. And they did approve and recommend for your approval on the conditional use permit for the USDA hoop tunnel that Mr. Wallen and his wife are applying for. They did meet the 5 requirements that are necessary for a conditional use permit. That will be on your agenda April 9th for approval. He is aware of that date and time as well. So, and then the CRA met on the 29th at noon. Main objective there was to provide a cash match for the NHTF application, Nebraska Affordable Housing Trust Fund application, as well as the two letters of intent to deed upon award and the letter of commitment of pre-development and development costs. And all three of those letters were awarded, and they did vote to approve a $10,000 cash match for the NHTF applications.
Okay, perfect.
Sorry,
Oh, that's right. I got the sheriff report. Thank you, Sheriff.
I didn't get those in the last meeting, so that's why they're in the second meeting and not the first meeting.
Okay. And water, the other water and the enforcement. Who's not there? We acknowledge that we received them. Any questions or concerns on the reports? Financials, Jesse?
So I realized, I think last month that I forgot to mention, I mentioned to a few of you, I think, about the sales tax in January that we had received a large amount that was out of the norm. And so I just wanted to mention that because as of our payment in March, it has not been recognized yet. So, because in the last February's and March's were kind of the normal amount. So I don't know. I assume it'll get caught at some point, but
Eventually they'll reconcile. Okay, so expect a large decrease in
at some point, I would assume.
that was like 60,000.
It was, yeah, it was 40,000
Oh, 40.
over what,
Okay.
so I'm like, that's,
This is nothing but strange to it. It's happened in the
Yes.
past. They reconcile it later on and make that adjustments.
Like
Sure,
at least
continues to happen, but
like once a year, it happens at least once a
yes,
year.
yeah, it seems like.
I'm thinking in my memory, it's not like. Yeah, it should be too. Please,
I
anything
think
else?
the rest was pretty normal.
Please note that we accept financials. Any public comment? All right, moving on to the new business action item A, discussion on the nuisance abatement agreement with West Central Nebraska Development District.
Good evening, Amber Kelsey, West Central Nebraska Development District. I would also like to introduce everyone to Ashley Knight, who has joined our team this winter. We're really glad to have her. She comes from the Bay Area, and so she's a great addition. She also looks like we looking at great, so she will be a familiar face to you. I was just wanting to make sure that you didn't have any questions, as far as no substantial changes in the contract. Different than any of the years in the past, we may have clarified, it may be a little bit longer because when we talk about duties of the city, we clarified a few things. Thankfully, none of those are issues that we had to clarify on behalf of working with the city of Grant at any time, but we've had some safety issues come up in the past during nuisance abatement and abatement specifically, so we're very fortunate to have your local law enforcement that support us, but that is one thing I like to know, that we will not perform abatements without law enforcement presence any longer. And we, again, never had that issue here in Grant, very supportive, but a lot of the same material in there, I wouldn't note any substantial changes to the contract. What question could I answer for the council? We're looking to do area 4 as outlined on the map. Is there anything that you'd like to hear from us?
Oh, I did have a question. You know how our areas are pretty predictable now. Do we need to leave it that way, or do we need to do like pack drawing? Or, because then, I can, in my mind, as a person in the community, I would say, I think it's gonna be my turn this year. So there's, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or do we need to leave it in order to be fair? I've kind of been going back and forth.
Or I'm done, I don't have to worry about this for another 40 years.
Right.
Or,
Well, the problem with it is too, it's like there are major issues with their strange things again, so.
That could be noted.
Right, I mean, if we drew from a hat, though, so let's say we drew area 4, we would remove that from the hat.
Right.
When we draw it next year, you'd only have 3 areas to draw from, then you remove that one, 2, and then 5 on them.
So it still become predictable.
Still have the whole process, so you wouldn't do area 3 back to back to back to back year after year.
Yeah,
Even though it is
We
rent,
did
because you're
do
drawing from
area
a hat.
Back, right after back, I mean, then. That's a really good point, Lisa. That's-
So it's really each community's preference on how you want to. As long as you present us with a continuous area, we'll probably be okay with that. We won't spot here and there and all over, but we're happy to accommodate those questions that you've raised. We've had communities that just draw the funniest shapes you've ever seen. All it's not preferred, it work. So that's up to you guys, or, we could finish out the map as you have it, and then you could redraw the map into different sections. Wouldn't be start, wouldn't be these 4 sections, we could switch it up.
Okay, I like that. Does everyone else? Cause then it wouldn't be predictable if we.
I like the idea of changing the predictability, but I think we can certainly stick with the map as is. And I wonder almost like a probationary period for somebody who's reached the level of abatement if they, are then reassessed for a few years also with the previous group.
We have done some kind of repeat offender programs, and that's something we could probably explore next year if that's something you're interested in. We would look at a specific area or areas, outside of the one that you were reviewing every property within, and only the property owners within the repeat offender area. The properties who have been declared a nuisance in the past would be what we would review.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, and so they would have had to have been declared at some point.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and that's kind of how we overcome some of that, if you're thinking on anything, because really, we're going by property, we're not going by tenant, owner, any of that. We just know that that property ID is in the program in the past, so it's one of the
We can
options.
build that into next year's budget.
Yeah,
I think we do that.
I kinda like that.
I like that, I like that.
Yeah, repeat offender, thank you.
Okay. Do that for next year. Any questions on?
That especially helps with like you. I did it, so now I don't do it for you.
Right.
It's like, no, you're a repeat
Well,
offender.
it'll be good once we finish this, because then we've done every quadrant recently, and we'll know which ones have been declared nuisance in the entire.
And since this has been an agreed upon plan for a while, I like the idea of finishing out as is. But I think, at this point, adding in the repeat offenders, I think we can add in now.
Yeah.
Because we've done 2, and we're gonna now start our 3rd. I think it's reasonable to start saying, okay, we have a repeat offender, we're gonna start looking at ones previous abuse in the previous areas.
Next.
On the 3rd round, correct. On the 3rd round, right?
Not
Or did you want it this year?
not this year, we don't have a budget this
How much does it cost to do that?
I would have to pull how many declared we have.
Let's look
So
at
I'm not prepared to answer that right now, I would be happy to, yes.
See, well, then let's get a number, maybe, within our budget, we don't raise taxes, then, that's, people like the fact that town's getting cleaned up, and so.
They do.
And so I think that let's research it, and maybe it's not in this year's budget, maybe it's next year, but let's plan for it next year if it is.
That's completely fine, in some other communities where we've added another section or something like that, we can do a second contract. So we could pursue this tonight if we were all agreeable, and then I could get some numbers to Ed and we could.
Yeah.
Or even just, you can also just add an addendum to us, existing contracts, that's even easier.
year. Do you want all the way back from 2010? So we can.
I think on the most, well, no, I think,
So we did 10, 11, 12, 13, and then we took a break for
no, I think whatever's,
5, 6, 7 years or something like that.
Then we kind
Just
of had
the
to
most-
have a.
just the most recent.
Yeah.
You start
21 and-
you start with 21, right?
That would.
Does that make sense? That's what this
And that
is.
would probably.
And that's-
be cost efficient.
Well, that's with this existing council too. I think that's appropriate.
So that's section 3 and section 2.
Yes.
Just, I wanna be clear on that.
That's what I think. What do you?
Yeah,
I agree.
Okay, because
Yeah.
because the problem area it was in 2010 may not be a problem area anymore, and I don't wanna,
That's too far to go back,
yeah, I think it's too far to go back.
just what we've dealt with
I
in the
will look
last
at
2
that and
years.
Yeah.
Is my-
Get with Ed and let you know.
Yeah, just put it on the next agenda, so we'll go with this one, and then that one will be here, and then or a separate contract. Whichever one's
Honestly, it's a lot more motivational for any husband player to stay on top of it, and then hopefully it feels so daunting. When it comes in year 4 and you're like, holy crap, I now have 4 years of stuff. Right. You know,
Right.
or if it has been a problem, there's some incentives to keep it up to where you brought it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think
And it's not a new program, so we're not reinventing the wheels, that's the other good thing. And it has worked in other communities.
This was on my radar, but it was on the radar for after we completed the whole cycle. Sure.
Yeah.
I think that we guess we do the data points at this
It's
point.
I mean, if you wanna go with two, I'm good with
No,
that,
no,
I was completing the cycle.
I get it, no, I understand.
I repeat to even index the cost, because I have to look at how.
That's fine.
They are.
What-
It's not as cost effective of a process and program,
Yeah.
we'll just say that.
Understand.
Perfect, but anything else I should talk to you?
I think at one point we reached out to you to add in the vacant property thing, is that?
Property registration, yeah, we would love to talk, with that, we've been going back and forth with our attorney and finalizing forms and documents, but we would definitely be interested in doing administration in some communities for the vacant property registration. I believe you're familiar with a different model of, or a similar model of that has probably been presented to you. The major difference that we see is that we wouldn't ask you to engage with a separate attorney. We believe that you could do it with your current city attorney, and under their advice. Unless you wanted to engage
you know,
another attorney.
we don't need
Yeah,
that.
right, but it's not mandatory for our program like it is some of the others.
Yeah, unless our attorney objects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Otherwise, the model is pretty similar, we do encourage FP schedule and all of that, like I said, the details are not quite massaged yet, but I'd be happy to come back and discuss that.
Yeah, we can pass the ordinance and we're interested.
Great, yeah,
Moving forward.
okay, awesome.
Yeah, and I did email Amber and
Yeah.
right away, I said, hey,
You said we're ready, and then I said the
we're-
first of the year, and we're now at April.
we're
so I
ready, but
apologize.
as you know how the attorney process has to go and the verification and all that, and it also has to come before the West Central Board as well, before we start doing it, so.
Sure. I just wanted to bring it up, especially because.
No, I'm glad you
Well,
did.
2 reasons, one, people haven't forgot about it, so I've been getting questions about it, and 2, I knew that you, I thought you'd been reached out to you about it, so I was just curious.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's gonna be a great tool for communities to
I
use in conjunction with redevelopment plans and new speaker abatement. I think there's a lot of assets in communities for progressive and more. Yeah, thanks.
Just give you more work. Aren't you glad you came?
We don't have, a lack of work, but we're excited about that. That means good things are happening. Thank you.
I move to accept the nuisance abatement agreement with West Central Nebraska Development District.
Second. Andrew moved, Kimberly seconds, that we accept the news abatement program with West Central Nebraska Development District. Any more discussion? That's very good. Thank you, guys. Kimberly, how do you vote? Yes. Sam?
Yes.
Andrea? Yes. Motion carried. Thank you so much
Thank you.
for coming
Thank you.
down and being here. It's always good to see your faces and
Yeah.
the new face too. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, moving back to the third reading, Jesse, would you please read ordinance number 240201?
Not the third reading.
Is it not the third?
No, it's,
Oh, yeah.
that's why
fourth.
for parentheses,
Oh,
third
you're
reading is March 12th, 2020.
Sorry, you're right. Fourth reading.
Do you want me to read it for a fourth time or?
Ordinance number 24-02-01, an ordinance authorizing and directing execution of the amended and restated total power requirements power purchase agreement by the city of Grant, Perkins County, Nebraska, with the Municipal Energy Agency of Nebraska to acknowledge and provide for limitations on the use of electricity to prescribe the time when this land shall be in full force and
Thank you, Jesse. And I think we talked about this a little bit, 2 meetings ago, how we're pretty much locked into this, whether we like it or not, like rephrasing it correctly. If we want electricity, we need to sign.
There's no other, the only thing I wanted clarification was there's no other, like, when we go for bid, there's no other company that provides this other than the private sector.
You could, you could approach. You could approach. Twin, yeah,
We don't want to be trusted. I already know we're not trusted.
but I mean, those, you could talk to them and see what it costs for them to service our community. So I mean, there are options, it's just,
Nina's given us no reason to execute those options.
but if it's something people think there's for, it's out there.
This is a 25-year contract, isn't it, that is?
Yeah, I mean, they changed it so that there's 5-year renewals, however, if the cost to actually get out of that contract, then it's astronomical to the city.
We don't sign this contract, then what happens?
We'll continue with our other contract and possibly have to go to price our electricity. And market rate is
No, I get the market rate problem, I understand that.
rates ridiculous.
No, I get that.
Just make sure we haven't missed anything, and that there aren't any options, what's best for the town. I know Tri-State's not, because Randy talks enough about Tri-State.
Yeah, I mean, there are other power sources and.
What does Midwest Electric get their power from?
Tri-State.
Okay, that's what I figured, but I just wanted to verify.
And we lose our seat at the table, GPDs. Which is our bargaining power.
It is a long
Yeah.
time, and
And the 5-year
Well,
buyout.
and the other contract is indefinite. So the contract we're currently in is from now until forever. There's
well,
no-
how long,
There's no out.
here's the thing, how long do we have to sign this contract? And when's it due?
They wanted it by April 1st, but we've already done. Or we will go past that if it's not.
I mean, but when does it get rescinded?
The old contract, you mean?
This
When-
contract? See, my concern is like somebody says, did you ask anybody else? And I say no, and I sign a 25-year contract. That was my concern. I was trying to, I guess maybe I didn't explain that very well last time, but that was my concern, that we never,
Look for their options.
we don't have it, like, we get a street, when we approve the street, we get 3 bids for the street.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And so you're asking me to sign a 25-year contract, and I'm not gonna be on city council for 25 years and all that, but, and that's just, I wanna make sure that we're getting the best deal that we can get, and that's what we do when we do any other project around here that would make these expenses.
So the biggest change is so the current contract we're in is indefinite. I say indefinite, but you can still get out of that contract too. You just have to pay for the resources that have already been allocated to 2089.
Okay, 2089,
Mhm.
That's like, it's once, I mean, when you're in it, like,
Cause we have,
the
to-
amount that would actually cost to the city would be,
So even if we go look at something else and it's better, we still can't do it because we're in the.
Unless there's-
indefinite.
well, you could, no, I mean, if you're gonna do it, now's the time to do it, because they want everyone out of that indefinite contract, they want you to sign this one. So if this is, like, if you're gonna do it, now's the time to.
well, the other thing is sometimes you'll have clauses where you get a buyout from the company. So sometimes they'll cover some of that cost.
those other two mentioned, I don't know if there's a third or fourth. Power supplier would also have those similar requirements.
I appreciate what you're saying, Ed, and I know that,
No, I'm
I know you know a lot about this, but cause where you sit with them, and I don't have a negative concern with you sit on the board, but the impression that if we didn't go with anybody else and we only went with the one that you sit on, I think there's a negative, there can be a negative impression.
Sure.
It doesn't mean that this isn't the best deal for the town of Grant, but I like to prove to people that this is the best deal. You know, and so that was my concern. I guess I wasn't forceful enough of the way I explained it last time, because how do I know this is the best deal when somebody pulls on the side of the street and it doesn't say, well, you just did it because Ed told you to. Now, I don't do what Ed tells me to do. We're going to have a discussion, you know what I mean? And we do look for the best deal because we're like, you know, this is a like-minded council and so like-minded mayor. And so I think we make a lot of really good decisions based on the compliments we get in the town. But it's a big contract that I just want to be like, this was the best deal.
No, and I fully got my city hat on, I don't got my mean hat on.
I know,
Right now, so when I say that those contracts would be similar in scope, they're gonna be similar in scope. That's all I'm saying, but if you would like to, if everybody would like to, we can do a bid process and see if there's anything else out there.
I'm not looking to actively delay this, but is there an actual rush where we actually have to do this right now? And I mean, does this contract go for the next 6 months?
So the reason that they want it done by April is that's their fiscal year.
Oh, I understand.
Okay.
So their fiscal year runs April 1 till March 30th, so they'd like it
It's
done,
their timeline, not.
done and completed by then. So if it goes past then, they haven't mentioned any sort of repercussions or anything like that. I think we just need to keep them informed that this is what we're doing, here's where we're at in the process, and
Well,
we,
do they need to know what we're doing? I mean, besides, if we table it, we don't need to say we're just. we
Well,
can just-
they would be having to put the same offer in.
yeah, they're gonna have to submit the same RFP.
Okay.
I mean, and they're gonna see it anyways. There's keyword that these people grab out of newspapers that somehow,
Does this fall in some different categories, Hannah, where it does fall outside of the rules requiring a bid? I mean, obviously, the total spent
Is way
over, especially in 25 years, would be well enough that it would fall in those lines, but for some reason we didn't auto follow that process. I'm just curious.
I don't,
Does it fall?
I mean, I'd have to look at the statute to see if it says if that's a requirement. I don't know that answer off the top of my head, but I mean, I'd have to look at the statute to see if there's a notice requirement for this particular issue.
We're currently in a contract, so you're adjusting the contract, basically.
So what I'm hearing is for due diligence purposes, we wanna see what the cost would be from the other.
Well, and I'm also hearing from potential legal statute process.
I'm just curious, like, I get that it's,
No, I
we're
think
in
it's
a contract with them, but if we're in a contract with a company doing our roads, and then we want them to do roads for the next year, we still are going out to bid, because we know we're gonna spend more than the allotment. So I'm trying to figure out, like, does energy fall into some sort of mystical, magical category outside of that requirement? We don't know.
So I mean, that's a big question. That definitely needs to be answered, I think.
I think it's just because we were already in that contract when we signed it in, I don't remember, I looked it up, 19 something.
Sure.
At that time, they did go out for bid, and Mean was the choice, and then.
What year was that? I'm sorry.
I had to go look, it was eons ago, 1900 and something.
So they're asking us to revise.
It's an amendment to the current
Amendment to the
contract.
existing contract, but I still, well, technically, we've agreed to and signed a contract for to
Indefinitely.
28 indefinitely, so maybe that's.
So maybe I can provide just a little bit more background on why it's, I use the word indefinite, but it's not necessarily indefinite. Because yes, you can always, they can provide you with your community's resource mix, sort of buyout, if you will, to get out of the contract. I believe Sydney did that, and if you wanna reach out to them, I'll let you reach out to them. Mike Palmer was the individual I introduced you to. But so when Mean, we have to buy Mean has to buy resources in order to fuel their load within the area, SPP, Nebraska, Iowa, Kansas, Colorado, Wyoming. It's a very large load. So that may be a new hydro plant, that may be upgrades to an existing coal plant, that may be a nuclear plant, or upgrades to any one of those plants. Each one of those power purchase agreements and or updates costs a lot of money. In order to do those, they have multiple shares. Like Gerald Gentleman Station is owned by multiple people, They have investors who come and invest into these because they're providing them with a dedicated load, electricity. So in doing that, every time you do that, it pushes out farther and farther and farther and farther. But if we don't do that, we can't, they won't be able to service their load. Colorado's under that right now with their effort to go green by 2030 and have only renewable energy sources, and they're finding out that that's not gonna work. So that just to give a little bit more background as to why this is sort of an indefinite, because
But there's no way for us to continue on our indefinite. They're saying they're breaking that side of the contract basically by forcing us into a 25-year.
we can continue on the other, we can continue on the indefinite side, it just with the caveat that it's not, you don't get an out then. There's no every 5 years, you don't get an option to exit the contract.
Or they don't get an option to change the agreement.
Yep.
I mean, this could go both ways. I feel like, I mean, obviously, it's been a good relationship. We haven't had to increase taxes for the sake of, we're trying to figure out the city's energy needs. And logically, it sounds like we think we know what the right decision is. It's just it feels like this may be being treated slightly differently, maybe for valid reasons. Maybe we don't know for sure that it should be. I don't know.
And I think in 5 of the last, they said it at the banquet, but I think 5 of the last 8 years that they were able to provide rebates back to you.
Yeah, no, I remember them very much. I mean, and that's something obviously you would not have if you were not to go up. Like I said, I think logically, it feels like we know what the answer is, but also my brain is wondering why this is different than any other
Yeah.
agreement to spend a large sum of money.
And
I think it's just because we're in the contract already, Tim. I don't, where they're just amending a current contract. I think it's along those lines. I know I'm not going into the lawyerese that needs to be gone. But that is where the basis of it lies, where it's not being treated as a new project. Or like a New Street project, for example.
Yeah.
Where we go out for bid, where it's a current project, where we have a current contract for quote unquote an indefinite period of time. Therefore, it doesn't need to be gone out to bid. But if you would like to see the other options, I think that, like Thomas said, and it's your wishes, that now be the time to do it.
well,
What Tana had something to say.
but
Well, and so even though the contract says definitely, like, you can still get out of it, like, I don't care what they say, like, a contract can be broken, no matter what the contract says, like, that's just part of life, that's just part of, you can't predict what a contract is going to, how it's gonna affect someone 15 years from now. And so, like, even though they say that these are the provisions regarding exiting their contract and that, you have to pay for your power source up until 2089. Number one, how are they actually gonna predict what our power needs would be in 2089? If we do expansion projects, our power needs in 2089 could be completely different than what they are currently. So the projection of how they're going to actually manifest that is just questionable in general. So I mean, to me, like, yes, I know this is what this says. And they're basically saying, once we have you, you're stuck with us forever. And that's what they want, because obviously the more people they have in their pool, the better it is for them. Right. And for us, potentially, but we don't have that answer for sure. But I mean, I guess my point is like, don't let that scare you. There's always.
But we do know potentially, if we decide to exit stage left, let's say we go out to bid, everything looks really good on paper somewhere else. We still have to factor in the cost of leaving.
Correct.
absolutely. And
So
so,
it would have to be a real big difference.
right,
Cost savings presented, but we don't know if that exists or not, to your
I
point.
mean, or the other option too is like to have that as part of your contract with the new, for that buyout to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, you can stage those contracts or,
so we can't change this one.
but.
So we can't change this one. Look, I feel like it puts us in a more defensible position when we try to explain it. And this might be just, you know, my little, in healthcare, the little lawyer that sits on my shoulder that I was told about when I was in training was basically like, don't ever put yourself in a position you can't defend in court, you know? And, or basically, maybe this is a position I don't really feel like I can currently defend in public. And I believe it's gonna be the right decision, but I don't wanna just believe it, I wanna know it.
I agree. So am I hearing a motion then to go up?
Well, or can we do that within this
Or do we just table it first?
and then come to the next?
Yeah, I would just table that and then see maybe what Ed can research the options of who those potential people would even be, or if they can send this sample ones, just even look at prior to if we do have to go out to bid. Just so that we kind of.
There's three, sorry, I was able to look it up. There's three that operate in Perkins County. Four if you include the, Tri-State, NPPD, and, Highland, out of Colorado. They operate a very small chunk right along the state line, about 7 or 8 parcels along the state line. They operate in, or provide power to. So those are the three that operate within Perkins County. Those are probably the three that we would be seeking.
That makes sense. You know, the ones that are already available.
All of the other villages in Perkins County are NPPD.
Okay.
And the remainder of the county, minus what I just said on the state line, is Tri-State GNT Midwest.
Well, maybe they'd be willing to share us their contracts.
What's that?
Maybe they're willing to share what their agreements already are. We reach out to them, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, their villages are a different beast in their whole, but I mean, I can.
I don't know, I'm not trying to delay the process, but I'm trying to make sure I give the,
Does Midwest Electric not do towns, just only what Tri-State asks them to do?
That-
I don't know, I'm asking a question.
That'll be a question that I asked Jason.
Mhm.
Cause why would NPPD, I mean, they're literally pigeonholed, each of the villages are just the city limits for NPPD. And then Midwest has the whole rest of the county
Well,
minus.
and then they would do all of our maintenance. We have a contract.
They do the operations and maintenance for the
Yes.
villages as well, but they don't provide power.
That's-
to those
Yes,
villages.
yes, but they still.
And don't think doesn't NPPD buy their power from, I mean,
Tri-State.
They're buying
Midwest
theirs
buys from
from,
Tri-State.
yes, so
Yes, Midwest give their powers.
Yes.
so they're not gonna, I mean, it would be marked up from Midwest, but.
Yeah.
So. You go with Tri-State.
Okay.
I'll look at the statute to see if we have to actually put it.
I was gonna say,
I'll
I feel like,
just.
I feel like nobody wants to delay the process and the results are the same, but I agree with you, it makes sense to be able to say, research was done and this is what we came up with, at the very least. We don't have to bid, this is
So I
what we
won't-
chose not to.
Yeah, right. That's perfect. I mean, I think that, if that's the lines we wanna go down and complete agreements, now would be the time to do it. I think I can probably talk to those figureheads at NMPP and say, hey, just give us a little more time on this. And as far as going out for RFP, I'll place that on the next agenda. I doubt I'll be able to find, NPPD or Tri-State's not gonna give me their cost of power without actually going out for RFP. So. If that's the route we want.
Yep, go ahead and put on
Yep.
next agenda.
you can look to table this or?
Yes, please.
And table it to what? The when?
The next meeting.
Okay.
And then we can also table it again.
Sure, we make a motion to table, ordinance number 24-02-01. To the next meeting, I'm sorry.
49.
Second.
Sam moved and Joey second to table ordinance number 240201 to April 9th. Any more discussion? Andrea, how do you vote?
Yes.
Sam?
Yes.
Kimberly?
Yes.
Motion carried.
I will ask it, but I'm just what I'm anticipating is, are you asking for a formal RFP, knowing that how these large wholesale electric companies operate, so. But I may be able to pry some information out of them and have something for you at the next meeting.
Agreed.
I mean, I don't know about the community as a whole, but I can talk about like, I know our load requirements and how many kilowatt hours we need. Are they gonna charge by kilowatt hour, that type of stuff, so. Like, maybe have a little bit of information.
It avoids even the impression there's a conflict of interest in this conversation, so.
And then also that we researched it.
And we gotta look at the statute, so.
Right, to see,
Honestly, yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. The second A.
Hey. Oh, there's three. I just realized. Today you told me.
That's what Sam said to me, he's like, which A? And I'm like, oh, yeah, the first A.
All right, not Jesse, okay, I mean. I was on a high after receiving our award. that
That's right.
Just.
Thanks for everything.
Thanks for everybody.
Oh, thanks the Lord.
You get Eddie, you get Eddie.
All right, discussion on the League of Nebraska Municipalities, Nebraska pay survey results as related to the city grant employees.
So this should have been a B, not an A. I apologize for that. Sorry, thank you for catching it. So I was able to include the most recent cost of living, which we've tabled this once before, but it was available at the last meeting. We are up. I just want to give a little bit of explanation on the cost of living. I know these are sort of foreign to some people. But the percent change from those categories you're looking at is from February, what is that percent change up from then? December, what is it up or down from then? January, so on and so forth. So if you look just from January to previous quarter, these are released on a quarterly basis. It's up 0.6 from then. And from February of 2023, it's up 2.8 from then. So we are still seeing inflation is still doing this, still going up. Obviously, we all shop. We know this. We're not strangers to it. There are some areas which I tried to put in green that are decreasing. So if you've seen those green negative numbers, they're coming down. Meat, poultry, fish, dairy, and related products. I haven't seen that in the eggs yet. Maybe I will soon. I don't know. Utility gas has come down strikingly a lot, so that's good news. That's very cyclical. I mean, it's going to go up and down through the seasons. Gasoline apparently is down. There's a couple of things in here that got some green annotation to them that indicate they're going in the right direction or coming down. So just an idea, just a little bit of background on our cost of living there for you. Again, that'll come out quarterly again, so I think the next release is July, I believe. Yes, July. And then the last release is in September, which usually happens, if you remember, it happens after we pass our budget, so we don't ever get it. The last one we look at is usually July, so. And then I did include the positions that I think could use a cost of, or comparable community average adjustment, as well as the impact to our fiscal budget. Again, I don't think that in our current state that this will impact our budget enough to worry. There's always some cushion that we build into that. I always try and guess at different things over time, so on and so forth. And then at the last time we talked about this, it was brought up to ask if we could, I believe it was you, Kim, that asked for a silo comparison. And that's sort of that new sheet that you're seeing with all of the topics on there. And then what I did is in the red is below average, and at or above average is in the green. And there's different areas you want to be in the green. So city property tax asking, we want to be below average. That's why I put that in the green. Sorry, it's kind of confusing, but it was my brain trying to work there. Same way with tax levy. We want to be below the average. That's where we want to be. So that's why it's in green and not in red. Like, hey, you just said below average was red. No. So, and then the positions, I tried to lay those out: holidays, sick days, retirement life, vacation days, the health savings, high deductible health plan, the insurance premiums, percent of health insurance funding. Overall, I mean, we're comparable. I would say, there's a couple of areas. I think it was brought up when we talked about this last, yes, we want, we're offering, we have a lower deductible health plan, so we don't have to contribute as much to the HSA, which is good. That can change. I mean, it depended upon when July will be, well, hopefully I get that here pretty soon. Actually, I think last year I got it in April, the renewal. So that'll happen we'll see where we're at. Forecast, every forecast I've seen is right around 5%. We were at 4% last year, which, if you recall, we switched to LIFE, and that's the League Insurance Government Health. T stands for something that's escaping me. I apologize. But in doing so, we actually brought our overall increase year after year down. We were at or above 11% increase in our previous plan, but by going to the League Life plan, we actually were able to reduce that to 4% the first year and 5%. That's fantastic. As many of you know, that has not been the case over the last 2 or 3 years. It's been a 20% increase.
Yeah.
Year after year, unfortunately, for those of you who are shopping on the market. So that's sort of the silo comparison, and then I did include all of the data sheets that support that silo comparison. It's the tax levy, everything's in there, and I guess just whether or not you wanted to visit that in the form of a resolution for those positions that I've offered for comparative community average investment mid-year. There's quite a few communities that are taking on this methodology of doing a mid-year adjustment because of the inflation that we're currently experiencing. Not to say that it can't go the other way too. But there's the basis of it.
I would move we go into executive session to discuss the wages. Including the council, mayor, and Tana.
Second.
Aaron, Kimberly second, that we go into executive session to discuss wages. Any discussion?
Who's the second?
I second.
Thank you.
Kimberly. Sam, how do you vote?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Kimberly?
Yes.
Motion carried. We're going to executive session at 8:03.
Will you verify that I'm putting pause recording? No
The
more,
lights do look so much better.
no more reminiscing about my friend. Long gone.
I'm glad we don't have them anymore.
So we need a motion to come out of executive session.
I move to come out of executive session at 8:53.
Second.
Andrew moved, Kimberly second, that we come out of executive session at 8:53. Any discussion? Sam, how do you go?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Kimberly?
Yes.
Motion carried. Okay.
We're on item 2.
B.
Yeah, give me a second. Yes.
I did.
Thank you, sorry. Only right.
And I got caught up in
It doesn't say that. The
Okay.
discussion.
Oh, okay. Okay, we're good.
Ace.
Three.
53.
That's what my phone said anyways. Okay, then we'll move on to new business. Action and discussion on adoption of the City of Grant banner policy and banner application.
So we're gonna say about it, I just went with what we used for the state and tried to put in City of Grant where the state was and send it to Donna for her blessing, and I think I got that maybe-ish. Any questions? I can maybe try to build on this.
So, the state doesn't allow us to put people on, right?
Yeah, places, yeah, people.
How would they know?
They know everything. I don't know how they know, but they know. They knew that our,
They randomly drive through town, I think.
They know.
and That's when they catch a lot of it.
and we have to stay for this right here in town, so.
This is true.
Do we have on this side street, do we have put flags or poles on these couple ones right here?
On the side streets?
Yeah.
Yeah, we own those, we own those poles.
Okay, do we already have the flag mounts for those?
No.
Okay,
We have to purchase the mounts and everything.
okay.
But what about, what do we have like on the way to the high school? There's nothing there, is there?
There's very few poles on the way to the high school.
The other thing is we have to remember, like, sometimes semis and things take them out, and these streets that go that direction are narrow.
Yeah.
Cause like, I don't know if it would be good out here, fire trucks and all that, they might take them out.
We have to put them up pretty high and then, or higher than normal. And considering the narrow width of the street.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, it's just a.
No, my understanding was is because it's a state highway, we can't put it right there, but I'm just thinking like the side street would be kind of fun to like kids who are going to state wrestling, put their flags up on, next to the city,
Or-
you know what I mean?
Graduating senior.
Or graduate senior, or like senior of the month,
Yeah.
those kind of things, like, there might be like there might be an idea there where you could like, obviously it's off the state highway, but,
If we had our own bucket truck, I think that would make things different, but where we don't,
so we need a bucket truck in the budget for the senior of the month, gotcha.
I mean, just for safety if you're doing that.
No, we are far more
Wouldn't it help
economical
with
to
the
just
Christmas
rent a
lights
bucket
off
truck.
of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The bucket truck would help Christmas lights in.
Oh, would it?
Oh, yeah. Doesn't it must do the Christmas?
They helped with it this year,
And then Wally, or
what these we rented
Woody's, we rented.
for some of it. But I don't think it's you wanna rent it all the time probably type thing, but
How much is it to rent it?
I can't remember.
$100, it's like $300, I think is what it was. It was not,
So it's minimal.
yeah, it's far more economical for the amount of times that we use.
Than to
it
buy it.
Than to purchase a bucket truck.
So this one,
Is there any, Tom, do you have any issues with this policy? Or is there anything that you feel like we should amend, or is there anything we need to add, or?
you need to table
Well,
it.
the only thing that I was thinking about after we did this was like if we need to say, like, we don't have anything in here about who is responsible for storage, who's responsible for, and I don't even like do we have a time length as to, cause I mean, I guess that's our thing too, but do we need to put a time length in there that it can be? Because if someone gets an application, let's say that we don't want it up there that long, the city should have the discretion to be able to just take it down whenever. I don't know if we necessarily address that in here
I
either.
thought, cause I kinda asked Ed about that, I think at one time, because I'm like, we still wanna have that the US flag is supposed to be flown at specific dates, like at a higher priority or something like that. And I felt like how it was worded then, or he found, Cause they have the duration that they have to submit stuff within 30 days. But I thought we still had somewhere in there then that it'd only be up for 72 hours or something like that.
I've seen a removal on the last page where if it's neglected, that you could say like, you know, and I don't know.
Yeah, they don't.
Fine, it's neglected, obviously damage on site, you know what I mean?
To me, I feel like we need just kind of like a,
Standard time,
like, no, just basically the city's discretion, we can do whatever we want, basically.
Right,
Like,
I
as far
agree.
as like, no matter who it is or what it is, like, if it's something that the city is like, we really need that, yeah, we can just take it out.
Well, and the other thing was with the application is I said, do we need to have it altered some like ours, we're signing it for an entire year. So it's got the dates to display and to remove. So is this supposed to be that they're supposed to have this back to me within 30 days and this is like a one-time banner application? Or are we having it that they do a general yearly banner application with kind of some estimated timeframes, but then they can still come back in within that 30 days or, but I'm like, the school, even some of the events, they're gonna know even potentially 30
Right.
days because of how they do the scheduling anymore. But we may not know till 2 days before, and if it's, we can do it, that's fine, but if we can't, then it shouldn't still be our responsibility potentially if we're the ones paying it.
sure,
I mean, if we got a water main break or sewer, I mean, those things are gonna be a higher priority than getting the banners hung.
but plus if we have the discretion, then we can say, okay, this weekend's a big event in town. We're gonna take down these banners for the event in town, we're gonna put these banners up, and then we're going to replace them, you know, during that time frame. You know, what I mean, and then when the event's over, like for 3 days, we have something going on, so we can change, you know, for the fair. Put the banners up for the fair, you know, and then like when the fair's done, then we put the other banners right back up.
So at city discretion, like you were talking
Yeah,
about.
because then I just think it makes it easier for us to say that in that scenario, like, that we're not having to necessarily adhere to what they're putting on their application as to when they system, and it's still up to us if we need to. If there's something that we forgot or, you know, we approved something and then it's like, oh, well, no, we gotta, so they're.
Yes, I had a little bit of that in there. I mean, in restrictions and specific instructions on the last page. They're stating that it does not interfere with the flying of the American flag during city grant identified dates.
Sure.
It's pretty, I left it pretty vague, so it was open-ended, but I think that would maybe be where you would add that language.
Yeah, that's what, and that's exactly what I was thinking about, like Fourth of July or Memorial Day or like, you know, and like, you know, oh my gosh, like we had this thing on Veterans Day, we forgot that, you know, somebody else already has this, you know, they have it through the, you know, the 9th through the 14th, like now we're gonna take it down and put Veterans Day flag, you know, we're gonna put the flags over Veterans Day and then take
I mean, typically we adhere to the government holidays.
Sure.
So Veterans Day, I think the only one that's, there might be a couple that we do flag, like, Flag Day is not an observed governmental holiday, but we obviously are going to fly the American flag on Flag Day.
Right,
I think there's a couple more instances of those that are not, quote unquote, governmental holidays that we do fly the American flag. So I think those are the dates that you're kind of talking about where that discretionary.
yeah, or something,
Use something that come into play.
you know,
You didn't address the Christmas lights either.
So there would be probably no banners for
Yeah,
when the Christmas
Yeah.
lights are up.
Yeah.
So
And
that probably needs to be in there too.
like can't conflict with something else already on the.
Yeah, I mean,
I just, yeah, by talking about the holidays and stuff, I thought of that, we don't try to, you always take it down right before Veterans Day, put them up, and then try to get them down before the next holiday.
Yeah, I mean, and that's weather dependent.
We
You
understand,
know, I mean, like,
we live here,
this year, we couldn't get it, well, Woody's truck with Midwest had plenty of their own stuff to do, and Woody's truck was out of service, so we couldn't get them down in an expeditable manner. So that's, I mean, that's where I think where that discretionary word comes into play.
and I don't see the 72 hours thing, does that necessarily need to be that case?
Yeah,
And
where is
maybe it
that?
wasn't, I just felt like, I remember he said something and he told me that we had some limit in it, but
The 30 days was the limit, I think, I mean, I didn't have any,
was it in the other?
Well, and the poles themselves, I think the city should store those. Right?
The poles that we own or the poles that the entity, any other entity owns?
Well, the poles that are gonna be used to put up whatever banner. So that,
So you're wanting us to take the US, can we, no, they got the,
Nope.
No, by their own, well, everybody's
Yeah.
a set of poles, and they have to adhere to that pole standard.
yeah, so.
right, so that we have control of that.
So an additional set of poles, sorry, I'm just trying to wrap
Right,
my
right.
brain around that.
and then their banners have to fit the poles that we're gonna use to put up those banners.
So that would be a 3x5.
Yeah, we just have to just see what
With
the
two
city,
ground.
here's your standard, because it's gotta,
Right.
here's the pole that goes up, it's gotta fit, if it doesn't fit this pole, it doesn't go up, it doesn't go up.
So.
Yeah.
Cause currently it has two, like, chain.
Two
loops on it,
grommets
right?
that have a plastic clip, I've got one in my house.
Right,
that way
but I
we're
mean,
not-
it has the plastic clip, and then it's got like a keychain, just the circle, the keychain
That's the spinner.
deal, so that it spins it, yeah. So is there a way to do a quick link to one of them?
Well, and that way we're not getting pink poles or blue poles or purple poles. We have control over the poles that,
So we have
I
our,
think the pink on
we have
black
our-
would look good.
it was,
we have
yeah.
our American flag.
Yep.
With pole,
Set up,
and then
ready to go.
the city owns our own banner poles.
Right,
Yeah,
so we have
Would be
control over
utilized.
those, yeah.
Well, yeah.
so that way, if somebody wants something,
The
they
concern
have
was
to
about
be.
protecting
to match that.
our
Yeah.
hardware,
Yeah,
right?
it's got, yeah, because we're putting about our nice poles that we win an award for.
This pole.
Yeah,
Our award-winning poles.
That's right.
You're not gonna screw those things up.
Hey, timeout, just rewind for Ed for a second here. So are we talking about an additional set of flag poles? Yes, that's what we're
Yes.
talking
Or
about.
the banner.
Yes.
Okay.
Banner, we'll call
Well,
it banner poles.
we mentioned the 30-foot highway poles. I was just trying to like
No,
not get
we'll call them
confused.
banner
Those
poles,
just go
for
here.
them to not be confused.
But we're gonna require them to take it, remove their flags and put their flags onto the pole so that we.
They put their own,
Potentially.
we give them the pole, they connect it to the pole, and then we hang it up. I mean, I don't know if
Is
that's,
this real efficient?
No. And that's why I think it's, if the entity had their own poles and flags pre-ready, I mean, that,
or they can come rent the poles and say, these got it back by this turn of time. I mean, they may pay a deposit, they don't bring it back. I
I
mean,
mean,
then it's efficient, Kim.
Yeah,
If they come and get the poles and put the flags on themselves, then yeah. And like I said, in the policy, it does say, I did have that in there, that we could hire them to place their own poles. I mean, they would essentially be a contractor.
well, it's not gonna take that much time, but then, I mean, like,
It's about 2 hours to put them up and take them down.
no, but like to put on the flags.
I don't know.
well, cause,
Do it right.
yeah, cause we just roll ours up and stick them in the box. So.
yeah, we just give them a standard, say your jam banner can be this, they own the banner, then when they take it down, they can take it and put it up in their garage. You know,
But if 5 different entities had 5 different set of poles and they're all different colors and shapes.
no,
Yeah, I don't like that. I like,
we own the poles.
yeah, I think we need it on the
Yeah,
banner
we're on
pole.
the banner itself, the flag
Right,
itself.
right, right,
And they can come get the poles ahead of time.
Right.
And attach it, and then they can come back, here's all our poles with all our stuff.
right, yeah.
On our banners.
I mean, if it's one entity, basically, it's not an issue, but like you said, if you got 5 of them, we shouldn't be wanting to take them on and off all this hard work.
I think the most efficient manner is owning the pole and then having that entity place their.
Check them out.
Check them out.
Check them out.
Checking out,
Check 'em
we're checking out the poles today.
Are you back on this day?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll
that
put a
makes
little
sense.
library stamp on ours.
yeah,
And it also does state in there that, you know, if we do notice that they're tattered or in disrepair, that we can take them down.
yeah, I saw that.
So, I mean, yes, they're putting on their own banners, but their banners are not in good condition, we're gonna take.
Yes, it's unsightly.
and when they come back, for you to be hung, that is when you could do like the inspection to
Yeah.
make sure there's not something on them that would get the city in trouble. If somebody chose,
Well, especially if we're hanging them, that'd be, oh,
That's
that doesn't match the other
I
poles,
mean,
what
that-
happened to that one?
that would save us from, just
Yeah.
in case, not that anybody is, but
No.
just in
You
case
know, people
something
coming through and, you know,
would maybe,
Play junk.
thing do we need to address? Cause like I said, they fall out.
I mean, this is my, it makes.
We've had them disappear on a semi or something. Do we need to have something in there that we don't have the multiple damage or stolen?
I think,
So the city is gonna put the banner on the pole, no, Persis, Kim, help me out here, so.
The entity puts the flag on the pole, brings it back to the city,
Yeah.
the city puts the pole on the light post.
on the utility pole.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, I agree.
I just didn't want Joe
And the
Blow
city takes them down.
falling
The city
off
takes them
the
down.
pole.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if it is contract person where you're gonna have to have a contract.
I don't think we
I don't
want
think
any.
we-
Yeah,
No.
I'm kind of thinking it's like a insurance problem.
Yeah. When his ladder slips and scrapes her pole up and then he falls in front of semi
And,
truck.
and when they
You
come
have the
fill,
harmless clause in here.
if they come fill out the banner, you're gonna know that that person's bringing that back and would like it hung on such and such day, and then you call wherever you rent the truck from and say, I need it, you know, weather pending this day, and then you'll know ahead of time that this is what we're doing today.
So I think the
2
other
hours,
comment that needs to be addressed in there, I think Tom heard Jesse on this one, but
right? Isn't that cool?
the responsibility to return said equipment and then in the event that one gets carried away by a semi truck or falls out and gets picked up by Joe Blow and doesn't get returned, that they can't come after us to replace that banner.
Great.
Okay, that's a good point.
Yes.
Or gets stolen.
Or get stolen.
Especially with these poles that we've had right now, I mean, if it's a windy day, that one whole side had blown out, I think that day, and all of us were like randomly
And we're
picking up flags.
in the process of replacing our poles currently. We're hoping that this replacement will fix that. Like I said, we couldn't even figure out how old these poles are that we had. And they're just degraded enough that they have to be replaced. So we're going to an all wood pole, 1 inch in diameter. So we're hoping that by doing that, it will hopefully not. We'll see. We'll have to see. Because currently we're cutting off the bottom of them where they're breaking and then putting them back in and then breaking again and we'll cut the part off and put them back in. And some of them are getting fairly short, so.
And
And that
they're
was-
kind of a plastic material, not like even a metal or,
Are they hollow?
yeah,
They're
they're
hollow.
hollow. They're
You could
that
put
like
a wooden
cord-
dowel inside of them.
We're just gonna replace it. It's time. We've cut enough of them off that it's.
We don't match, gotcha.
Okay, so how many poles banner poles do we want to purchase?
So there's 20 downtown
Okay, and
on the new poles. So that's what we currently have, just for up to the library.
So did you wanna do 20? Did you wanna do every other, one?
I mean, if somebody.
how far do our Christmas lights go?
To the
Yeah,
locks.
to bullocks, but we don't do flags that way.
No, because those, you're on different people's property and stuff, well, probably on some of them, aren't they?
It's still a right.
It's on right away, but it's not like right up against, cause most of the time they're using a ladder, like those ones were kinda on a hill slope and stuff, so I assume that's why they kinda stopped on some of that.
The 20 is still, that's a good number. So you could do 20.
I just purchased them, so I know it was, I'm gonna round up, but
I would say 22.
including shipping was, and 20 was with, Carrot Top Industries, wood pole, 1 inch in diameter was $1,400 for 20.
I'd get 22.
22 for the banner poles.
Cause
Okay.
you know one's gonna go missing.
Totally.
Yeah, I'd get 22.
Well, and then that gives us two, even if one of ours, 'cause it's not like it's a separate pot, we just
Yeah.
have two extra.
They'd all be the same.
Yeah.
Essentially, I mean, other than the fact that our American flag is fixed.
You could just put no new one. Yeah.
Okay, so is that, we don't need a motion. For that. So 22 poles, please.
Outstanding.
Please,
please.
Shoot.
It's all right.
But they screwed up our first order,
Yeah,
so.
they sent us some ones that we don't want. I'm glad to show you those pieces.
Oh, yeah. And then add storage, that will be storage, a time frame, and then, add to the restrictions what Sam had talked about. You know, us pulling them down as,
Because we need.
Our
we're-
discretion.
Yeah.
City discretion.
Yeah.
City display.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
And no contractor, just that the city's good
right.
Yep.
Yep, and then the only last question I had for you guys was the application rate, if, do you guys desire that? I was thinking we don't need that, maybe a deposit on the polls?
I like the refundable deposit idea. You know
That's,
what I mean?
that's a separate agenda item, I think.
It is.
Oh, it is, oh, I'm sorry,
So you're, yeah,
oh, sorry,
and
sorry.
then I was thinking you were meeting the banner application.
okay.
And then we need to kind of table the other one because there's some modifications.
Yep, yeah, we need to table that one.
So I move to table the adoption of the city of Grant banner to the next meeting, which would be
The ninth.
July. Thank you.
Second.
Andrea moved, Sam second, that we table the adoption of the banner policy and banner application to April 9th. Okay, now we're on to the resolution.
We have to vote.
You need to vote, please.
Oh,
Just
The
some
vote,
minor
darn.
detail.
any discussion? Kimberly?
Yeah.
Tim?
Yes.
Yeah.
Motion carried. I didn't. Yeah,
Just quickly
That's
on,
mine.
just quickly on that too, I apologize. I want to make sure I got
Okay,
all my T's and I's here. And I specifically talk about the application. Is that something we desire to have, more of a permit? And then, it's an annual permit, and then the application is for each event? Where they don't know, maybe where I said, 30 days before the event, they can apply, per event, or it's just annual application, and then whenever they get us the dates, they give us the dates.
I like the idea of the annual application, especially with like Perkins County Schools, like they just fill one out one year, every year, and then it's good for that year.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I'm thinking like the county wanted to put up with slides for the fair time or whatever, like.
I mean, what if they want to advertise can you advertise, you just can't advertise, you can't put it that there's gonna be like the play, or could you do that? I don't know, just so I did.
It's an event.
Okay, I just wanna make sure that, I didn't catch
I think
that.
I like the idea of an annual one, and then, and that way that,
Because
this,
then we just don't have to bring all the
So-
extra paperwork, they can call the office and say, would you guys be able to do it for these dates?
yeah, and they can say, well, there's no conflict with those dates, so we pick those.
The states go in, or speakers go into state.
Yeah, speak to them states, let's
You know, any of the.
So with the annual application though, do you think we should get like estimated, like ones that they're thinking and dates potentially?
May display on the
But I
state.
think
In my opinion, the annual application is like, we know what the banner is, we know your general purpose for use. I think the dates can be pretty easy breezy, like shoot.
I don't have to know the dates
Shoot me
at
an
that point.
email if you know them and we can plan ahead, or if,
Within the 30 days, the
Yeah.
estimate, because like I said, the schools, some of them are.
It doesn't have to be 30 days, I don't think, I don't understand why we have to say 30 days, but, I mean,
Well-
is that the law?
No,
It's more
so-
planning for.
Right, like, so the fair board.
So ideally 30 days, not
Right.
required,
the
okay, that's fine.
Fair board currently gives us like and they try to do it kind of on a monthly routine when they have events out there. I mean, it changes a little bit
Sure.
here and there, but so we know, the guys know where it's at, they go look at it, okay, we need to get snow removal done, oh, they're having a big event, we need to get the trash picked up. So it's just so that we can kind of put it into our schedule a little bit better.
no, that works.
Yeah, but I think it's like, if somebody calls up like Andrew was saying, all right, we're going to State's Beach, it's like, that's not gonna be 30 days, you're like, okay, yep, and nobody's displaying any banners, we want to, they're going up.
But they could tell us that state speech is on this date,
Right.
on it within their 30-day notice, and if they have a qualifier, they'll contact us to let us know they want our person.
well, and then they're, without giving dates, they're at the risk of someone beating them out,
Right,
so.
Sure.
But I like
Yeah,
it.
that's the other thing, if we have more than one, then we're gonna
Then
have
it's
to make
first
that
come, first
decision.
served,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I like your idea, I just wrote that down because I didn't hear it earlier, but I think there also needs to be a description of the banner in the form of a picture.
Yeah.
Front and back.
I would just.
Yeah.
Just sort of the annual application, this is it, this is what it looks like.
Mhm.
Names and faces, like General PC or Leroy is fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as my neighbor's face, you gotta figure out how to get a high ball warrior.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to.
Huh?
Same thing.
I mean, I'm saying.
Vote, Sam.
No,
Vote.
no, no. That is.
Uh-huh.
Thumbs up one.
Approved messaging.
Yeah, I get that.
Okay, so we are at actually discussion on the resolution.
Yes.
No, we'll get back.
Resolution 24-303.
Again, this was just a stab at covering, the office time for recording and the guy's time for putting on the ticket. But does not have to be this, now does not have to be.
I like the idea of this actually being a deposit. To be perfectly honest, you $100 deposit, then you're like a little more serious, and then if you like, and then you have to come and get the stuff, when you get all your stuff back, you get your deposit back. And if you leave your banners up for a month, and we take them down, then you get your deposit back.
Which we're gonna be the ones taking them down.
I know. I'm just saying this is what I like, I like the idea of the speed of deposit.
Well,
So an annual deposit, we.
No, when you come in to get the polls, you get all the polls, and you have to give $100 deposit for the polls.
Mhm.
And then if the polls, and then you have to, and when the polls are returned empty, you get your deposit back.
so I don't really like that, because I would have to come to council every time then to get that $150 back that we paid to it. They're also governmental entities, and they should technically need the $150 done each time. Too.
What's that?
That has to be cleared by their board every time.
Yeah,
Our board
so every time we're gonna do it, we would need,
Finances.
Yeah.
They just have to
Be
do
on
this
this meeting cycle, basically.
so, you know, a lot of times when it's a deposit, sometimes it's just that it's more of a private individual, and then maybe you a check, and then you cash it, and then only have to do the reimbursement from the one direction. But,
Do we have to cash it? Why would we have to cash it? Why can't we just?
well, I'm saying we can hand that back to them, but it's a private individual, it's not that it's a governmental entity. The other thing is some of these though, we could technically do with an interlocal potentially too, I suppose, or have it per time fee, that it's just that it's $10 each time that they put it up or something like that.
Or we could do an individual, and then an entity could be different. Right? An individual has a deposit, where you don't have to worry about that problem.
That's the thing though, an individual can do it, doesn't it? It's gotta be, well, I guess how it's moving.
Have to be a business.
Well, I mean, most of the time you're thinking about it, because it's announcing plans of upcoming events, for the community pride, non-message, so I'm thinking that it's gonna be more like a chamber, the church, the
Foundation.
foundation, and, I mean, it's not gonna probably be an individual.
Probably the
Yeah, and then,
It's gonna be a club or something like that.
I mean, for the sake of just trying to be like good supporters of the community, can we just make this simple for a year and see who does it, how many times, what does it cost us, like,
we're gonna say no fee.
I'm just curious, right, because this could be completely out of line if I'm thinking about one entity, and it could be completely pennies in a bucket for another entity. So I don't want this to be, if we're gonna go through all the trouble of like purchasing polls, making resolutions, I think we're doing all of this because we want to be supportive of the community. So can we just figure out how to make it happen for a year and then we can reassess?
Or, and maybe it's even where the poles don't even leave the city, they come right in here and put their flags on, what is it, 20 of them, is it gonna take 15 minutes?
Oh, I like that.
Get your, you know, if it's FFA,
Work
bring
study.
the group in,
Let's go.
yes.
Yeah, they don't, that's really good.
I mean,
That
they're
was
right here, they never leave, they
Right,
come back in and take them off and walk out, and the poles never leave the city.
they do right in here.
Yeah, I do see this being one
Or
of those things
somewhere
that's
else
like,
to
this
be-
doesn't, after we start doing it, we're like, this doesn't make sense. or this could be permission, or, you know, so I just,
It's just a stab in the dark, I just wanted to.
You said that, we understand.
Just a discussion, I wasn't dead set on any of this, it just needed to start somewhere. And this was a
yeah,
starting place, and again,
And
there's no precedent for this, we are
there's
setting,
none.
we are
There's
setting
none.
the precedent.
And we have no idea who's gonna approach us to put.
Well, you just explain where you got, no, I understand.
And I agree with Kimberly. Let's take the easy way now, and if we see, oh my gosh, this is not working, this is causing a problem, we need to have a better plan. We'll put it on the agenda and change things.
Sure, resolution, it goes, change one
Yeah,
meeting.
I mean, it's not
Yeah.
like, yes,
Okay, so change it to no application. B.
I
yeah.
just want to take any action on that agenda item.
Okay,
Okay,
that sounds good. So we are at, do you have anything else with banners? Any other ideas? Good discussion. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Action.
I'm excited, we're gonna, hopefully other communities are gonna mirror
it'd be awesome.
our policy, and I could actually say, hey, we invented this, we pioneered this.
I think it'll brighten Main Street.
I think it'd be great.
People will have community pride.
Yeah.
So,
Definitely. All right. Farmer Day, yeah.
On this, wait a minute.
Farmer Day, yes,
We
sir.
can do different things on the on these polls, should we put that in the contract? Sorry, I know we skipped this item. But if we actually can do different things on these polls, should that be in the contract? Like with the agreement, like pictures can be on side streets. Right?
Yeah.
Over Sam, Andrew for governor.
Grant still owns those parks, so I don't think
It's just,
individual.
I'm just being a smart aleck, I'm just kidding.
Events, and I think that we just need to like a little practice.
Oh, that's a good idea.
So what flags do you have, where do you wanna?
Sure.
Yeah.
And if they, somebody's letting us few polls, what's, you know, what's 6, or what's 6 do you want?
Right.
All the same time.
Just so that then it's not, and then if you do things that are faces, those are also numbered, so you can do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
These polls have restrictions, these polls less.
Ira.
Look at us go, solving the world's problems. Okay. One flag.
Another one.
Your son's already joked there, but I just you back to think of.
It's after 9, right?
Yeah.
Trying to get me to
All right. Action on bills and claims. Oh, yeah, did you guys review them?
Yeah, same.
I move to accept bills and claims in the amount of 125,105.48.
Second.
Andrew moves, Sam second. To accept bills and claims in the amount of $125,105.48. Any discussion? Okay. Kimberly, how do you vote? Yes. Sam?
Yes.
Andrea?
Yes.
Motion carried. We are adjourned at 9:27. Thank you, everyone. Good discussion. Good input.